Arakawa Under the Bridge is a really cute and heartwarming anime for those cold winter nights when you're really feeling the effects of the post-COVID world. Full of lovable characters, funny moments, and a sense of community, like you're a camera that just so happens to be seeing all the weird and wonderful and wacky hijinks these adorable rapscallions find themselves in. Our story begins when our protagonist, Ko Ichinomiya, crosses the bridge, or tries to, and in doing so caught the attention of a couple of pranksters who steal his pants and hang it high on the bridge. He then meets Nino, who offers to get it down for him, but because of his family code, he refuses the help. This ends up backfiring on him when he falls into the river below the bridge trying to retrieve the pants himself, and Nino saves him, which to his absolute horror indebts him to her. Her only request to feel what love is, and Ko wanting desperately to repay his debts, he accepts. And now, just like Ko, we are thrust into the world of the residents living under the bridge.
Ko Ichinomiya, aka Recruit, as Chief has so graciously named him, is our main character and newest addition to the Under the Bridge dwelling weirdos. But it wasn't always like this. He was a very successful businessman with innumerable companies under his belt and thousands of accomplishments to his name. He's almost the ultimate Mary Sue, if it weren't for one flaw. His main conflict comes from his family code, in which it is of highest priority to never be indebted to anyone, and he takes this extremely seriously, leading to hilarious situations.
Our second main character and love interest to Recruit, Nino. She is a bit of an airhead except when it comes to catching and force-feeding wreck fish, which she is incredible at. She's allegedly from Venus, which is probably the least weird thing you'll hear for the rest of this video. Adding to this, she definitely does not act like a typical Earthling. And if this is meant to represent someone who is perhaps neurodiverse, it's an incredibly endearing representation.
Chief is a 620-year-old river spirit, and definitely not just a regular dude in a kappa suit. He is the group's leader and is loved by all, connecting everyone and even giving them their names. Despite not actually being some old wise kappa, he often does have some very insightful advice or quip for the residents, and he usually keeps them very centered.
Sister, or as the residents refer to him, Shista, an ex-military, cross-dressing, cross-fitting, cross-wearing nun, and is generally in charge of keeping everyone safe and training them, as well as running the church. He has a bit of a thing for Maria.
Maria. She's a bit of a dummy mommy who absolutely relishes in breaking down a man's ego, with some of the most heartbreaking insults you have quite possibly ever heard. She runs a farm and has had prior affiliations with Sister, as it appears they may have been on opposing sides in the war. Which war? No clue, no idea. Now let's talk about Stella. She is the cutest, most innocent, and absolutely in no way, shape or form is dangerous, and I'm talking complete bullshit. This kid will f*** you up. Let's just say she has a proclivity towards violence, as she was adopted and trained by sister, so she's kind of a super soldier. She looks up to Maria and hopes she will be her mommy. Same.
Next up, Hoshi, a failed rock star who lives in a trailer and is hopelessly in love with Nino. He often tries to sabotage Rek and Nino's relationship to no avail. Rek is just too perfect to fail. Despite being a terrible singer, everyone loves his music, and he is the entertainer for whatever events or parties the group holds.
星はミュージシャンでな、イベント時に音楽を担当してくれるのだ。
今無理に作った設定ではなく？
ようリク、俺の新たな一面を見てへこみ気味か？俺は星だけにスターなのよ。こっち見ろよ、二人とも。
Tetsuro and Tetsuo. They are the twins who have allegedly escaped from a lab and are deathly afraid of their helmets being removed as it may give away their location. They're very young and endearing and are good friends of Stella, the same way Al Capone was friends with his lackeys.
ほら、ちょっと手貸してみな。で、足の力を抜いてみろ。浮くから。
本当だ、浮いたよ。あー、すごい。
よし、じゃあ次は手を離すぞ。一瞬体が沈んでもちゃんと力を抜いているんだぞ。
See her? No, I don't.
Shiro, affectionately referred to as Whitey by the other residents, due to the fact that he has dedicated himself to only walking on a white chalk line. This could be a metaphor for how he never steps out of line, or just the fact that he's constantly training for the Australian White Line Championship, whatever the hell that is. Or he truly believes that if he does, his wife will turn into a white Cornish chicken. Either way, we love him.
シロさん偉いですね。準備運動ですか？まあお互いぼちぼち走りましょうよ。
ああ、そうだね。風景でも楽しみながらゆっくり走るのもつ。
よーい、
大人げないなあの人。
ほら、リクさんもダッシュダッシュ。そこのままでいいじゃない、ほら。
Billy. Absolutely the most badass bird you've seen since Richard from Hotline Miami, and is fiercely loyal to Jacqueline, even giving up the opportunity to essentially rule over the residents just to save her from falling into water. Get yourself a man who looks at you the way this bird looks at that bee.
Jacqueline is the group's esthetician, and other than that, this bee lady serves almost no purpose in the show, other than just being there to show how loyal Billy is. Or at least how loyal they are to each other. Which isn't a bad thing. The comedy that comes from these two often had us dying from laughter. Speaking of dying, Jacqueline will absolutely die if she is separated from Billy. Like for real, we can't stress enough how much these two love each other.
愛してる、愛してるよ。ねえ、ビリー、愛してる。
おい、黙れよ。嘘はつかない主義だ。お前のオウム返しじゃ嘘になっちまうからね。愛してる。笑わせるな。そんな使い古された言葉じゃ俺の気持ちの100分の1も表せやしない。巣にいる1万の男が束になっても俺の思いにはかないやしねえんだぜ。
Pico, the super clumsy gardener who pines after Chief. They couldn't have chosen a better voice actress, as she perfectly conveys the clumsy/naive personality that is Pico.
あ、トマトだ。ニノさんに差し入れ？
これは。
何？まだ青いじゃん。
いや、これはそうじゃなくて、そうじゃ。
ああ、似てるね。
Despite being so clumsy, she has an incredible knack for growing fruits and veggies, and is responsible for doing so for the residents under the bridge.
And last but certainly not least, the last samurai, aka Sammy. He's the hairstylist for the residents, opting to use his sword instead of a pair of scissors. He dons a top knot. Don't let that fool you though. This man knows hair, and he knows how to cut it. Quick fast.
そろそろ仕事に取り掛かるでござる。シスター殿もいるでござるからな。
シスターがいると何か不都合が。
よし、これであとはシスター殿でござるか。
さあリク、もう出た方がいいぜ。
そうよ、早く。
いや、っていうかどうやって。
So, as for the story, there isn't much of a story to speak of. This is a gag anime after all. But it mostly depicts the characters going through their day-to-day lives, often filled with fun activities to pass the time. Buildings and props seem to materialize out of thin air for the sake of a joke. Speaking of the jokes, this anime is full of them. I can't count how many times we've laughed out loud at the ridiculous situations the characters create or happen to find themselves in. In the beginning, the plot mostly revolves around the love story between Rick and Nino, but as it goes on, the focus expands to include all the residents and the goings-on at the bridge. The show is very light-hearted, but despite this, can be very provocative when it needs to be. The fact that these scenes exist in an anime like this really highlights the emotional scenes, making you feel something akin to emotional whiplash.
次の角を曲がったら、今度は何が待っているのだろう。
Anyway, let's talk about the art. This show is gorgeous. The art style is nothing too different from what you've seen in a typical anime, but the way they employ color in certain scenes really sets the mood. Whether it's to accompany the emotional scene or set you up for a bellyache of a laugh.
ニノもジャンプ力をもってすれば、あるいは隙だらけだぞニノ。ダメだったでござったか。いや、よく見ろ。今のはダミーの腹ちょうち。風船は割れてない。
シスターいけんぞ。武器は一人一個まで。ミノさん、本能に抗えず退場。
The animation is very smooth and often has great small details, some details even being a sort of running gag, like in the case of Nino's hair billowing in the wind in the form of a windmill. And considering it first debuted in 2010, the art style and animation hold up considerably well. You probably wouldn't have been able to tell it came out 13 years ago. Exaggeration is the name of the game for the show though, pushing the slapstick comedy to its limits, squeezing all the comedic potential out of funny moments, and it just works. To be honest, the impact the show has on me kind of falls flat. Just because the conclusion of the anime doesn't coincide with the conclusion of the manga, obviously telling me that the show doesn't condense the manga, more that it takes a piece from the manga and shows it to the audience. The emotional impact along the way is a different story though. I often felt blindsided by the emotional moments after laughing my ass off. Never disappointed by this though. I'm not the type of person who often enjoys gag anime, preferring something with high stakes, awesome fight scenes and slow burning intellectual battles between characters. But I love this show. This isn't to say that the show doesn't have any of that, but these elements are usually just to tell a joke or exaggerate the comedy. Yeah, good show. Go watch.
For me, this show was a much needed dose of escapism. We, by all means of the word, stumbled upon this anime, and it left me feeling like I was slowly uncovering a treasure, one life lesson at a time. Even if its intention was not to be taken too seriously, I couldn't help but become invested in the characters, trying to figure out if I should take everything they say literally or with a hefty dose of salt. Recruit's flashbacks, or moments of self-reflection, would leave me with a sense of sadness almost at how human he is, and that he isn't faultless. And this community of weirdos actually like him, unconditionally so. It made me laugh, think, and almost cry many times. Kind of like life. A lot of it sucks, but you shouldn't take it too seriously in the end.
ニノさん、遊んでますね。
真剣だ。
The relationship between Sister and Maria never failed to get a laugh out of me. Just seeing this absolutely stoic giant of a man be so easily cut down by Maria's vicious mockery was a treat. I love how the sky is drawn, often including half the damn rainbow in the sunset scene, and other times being filled with beautifully glowing stars. I'm a huge fan of how Chief never drops the act of being a capo despite how obvious it is that he isn't, going so far as to have explanations for almost any slip-up he may have. The show often makes it seem like Hoshi may have a real shot at stealing Nino from Rek, but knowing Nino and how loyal she is, you know this will never happen. And although Hoshi may be aware of this too, he continues just to get on Rek's nerves, and it always works. The show has so many references to other media and pop culture, two of my favorites being a reference to Fist of the North Star, and another to Metal Gear Solid. And my final favorite thing is Maria. Maria's best call. Fight me.
Sister, a gun-wielding, cross-dressing nun, is blasphemous, but comedic gold. Secondly, the soundtrack and detail that went into the intros and outros made them a whole anime on their own to behold. Maria and Recruit's old secretary even have dedicated intros. Thirdly, I really like that the show is open to interpretation. If you want to approach it seriously, you could, as it has some depth for those who look hard enough. If a laugh is what you want, it can definitely do that too. I love Hoshi, gate-crashing Nino and Rek's relationship, and how his music is.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
His facial animations are amazing too. He's a walking out-of-tune meme. I enjoyed witnessing everyone sharing in each other's delusions, because a lot of these stories they share seem way too outlandish, and yet everyone under the bridge accepts these things without question.
Now we're going to talk about some of our least favorite things. And to start my list off, I'm just going to say nothing. Go watch the f***ing show. Nah, but for real. My only complaint would be how the show ends. Like we mentioned before, the show is more of an excerpt from the manga rather than a condensed version. And because of this, the ending doesn't feel like the end. And a lot of questions I had like, is Nino really from Venus? Never got answered.
I really did not like the strange lolly-like depiction of Stella in some scenes. It felt really awkward. Secondly, I would have liked a third season to end off the show in less of a okay, the show's done now and everything is great situation. Is Nino from Venus? Are the Metal Brothers really escapees from a lab? Are they all just dead and in limbo? I guess I'll just have to go read the manga. But I think it could have been such a great direction to go in.
Okay, seems like it's working. So yeah, before we end this video, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment, because it really helps me in the algorithm. I hear a lot of people say that these days. Maybe it's just a popular thing to say. Maybe YouTube's telling us to say that, you don't know. You aren't a YouTuber, you aren't making videos. Guess I should have seen that coming actually. Yeah, sorry that this video took so long to come out. Took a really long time to compile all like the clips and shit. And yeah, just putting all that together. I mean, this wasn't like a super deep dive into the anime or whatever, but if you would like to see that, then leave a comment down below. Tell us like what you want to see. Tell us if you like what you've been seeing from us. I don't know. Yeah, just tell us if you want to see like a super deep dive into the anime maybe. Could do that too. And yeah. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.
Right side. If I'm on the right side, if I'm on your side.